Practice is hard to keep coming back. It's hard, especially in this culture. I mean, I wonder if it would be less hard if we lived in a culture where that were the norm. It would still be hard, but I also wonder what our potential would be. I wonder these things a lot as a culture builder. Like, what is our potential beyond survival? So the principles are So what I say is when we wake up, if somehow maybe we have a numinous experience, maybe we see someone who really inspires us and awakens us to some kind of new way of being, or maybe we have been brought to our knees with our survival habits in a way where we could not go another day. There's too much to lose. So we have to change our lives. When that happens, that is precious. That is a precious moment. It's like life breaking through. It's not like it. It is. It's life breaking through me in that moment in a way that I didn't even plan or know. I mean, it just happened. It reminds me of like a sprout pushing through concrete. You know, when you're just like, I can't even believe this is coming through. When it comes through, it's a breakthrough that must be taken care of if it's going to survive. It will not survive our survival habits in this world. So the first principle of source design is taking care of vulnerability. This design is for teenagers and adults who want to build healthy culture, starting with themselves. This is not a personal development design, though it includes personal development. In fact, none of it will happen without that. But it's bigger than that. It's about culture change and culture building, not even changing what we're doing, but like literally culture building from a place where we all of the practices orient around taking care of life in a person, in a community, in a place. So the first one's taking care of vulnerability, and really the kind of the essence of that principle is when a breakthrough happens, we need a regular place, a community to practice with, new practices, of course, and mentorship. If we have those four things and we commit to those four things, any learner who comes into Springhouse has those four things.
Can you repeat those one more time? Because for people unfamiliar, they went fast.
Yeah, so it's when I have a breakthrough, if I need to find a regular place to practice, new practices that take care of life, whatever they are, a community to practice with, people to remind me you are safe in the new change that you made. And no, it doesn't feel like it, but you are. And then the fourth one is mentorship. Having someone who has been there, done that, is still doing it. And they can say, you know what, I know this is scary. I mean, I just had a call right before this with my mentor, who's been a mentor of mine for 15 years. And for him to say, you know what, yep, it's okay. Been there, done that. You're going to be okay. Is super helpful. And he's been saying that to me for a long time about all kinds of different things. So that's the first principle. Take care of the vulnerability of that breakthrough in you, and then you'll start to take care of it in other people. But you have to start here. So if I've found that, some of us have a practice. Let's say we might have a yoga practice. So we have a new practice. We have a regular place to go. We might not have mentorship, and we may not have community because we may be practicing with other people, but community really isn't built and fostered. Some yoga studios and places do that. It just depends on if that's a value to the people who are designing it. So it is a value to me. So it's like, how do we, and us at Springhouse. So we have the Springhouse that is a place where people come and practice. There's mentorship, a regular community, and new practices that we practice. In that, let's say, little house that we build for our new little sprout, we get to know that sprout. We get to know how life is moving through us. If we don't, we're going to keep, and I've been here. I'm also, I had another numinous experience when I was 25, being diagnosed with a very serious cancer, and had another numinous experience that I then just wanted to have all the time. And I was mad that it wasn't happening all the time, but through great mentorship, with a priest and a Jesuit monk. I made my way through with the mystics. They gave me the mystics, and it was 10 years of making it through. But I really wanted that numinous experience all the time. If you've had one, if you're listening to this and you've had one, you probably know what I'm saying. So that's not possible. And that's also like self-serving, actually, for me. And so I need to get to know the thing that broke through to me. And that's the second principle of cultivating personhood. So when we cultivate, the word cultivate means to till, as we know. And then person, the word person, actually, its root means to sound through. To sound through. So we till the ground of ourselves so we can be better, not even better, but just clearer vessels for whatever is breaking through to come through even more. So when we cultivate personhood, again, it's not prescriptive. It's not like you must meditate 10 minutes or it's more, there's three practices. Get to know your body, meaning not your body, everything that's going on, not everything, but what's going on in your body, where your body is, get to know your place, get to know your family systems, get to know the other systems that you're a part of, get to know yourself in that way. Also get to know the sacred. Get to know the sacred in some way where you're not just waiting for it. And the more we practice to get to know the sacred, the part of us that we can't see, that's a mystery, maybe we might meditate or practice yoga or walk in the woods, whatever it is. When we practice getting to know that, is sort of contrived and hard as that can be some days, we are more likely to recognize it when it does break through in its unexpected ways. And then lastly is growing awareness and cultivating personhood, growing self-awareness. So that's where mentorship comes in, working with somebody else to remind me of my strengths and my weaknesses and love me through it. So that's cultivating personhood. The design does not, you cannot skip that. So I say that because as adults, that's hard to be with yourself, especially if you haven't. It's kind of like returning to a garden that you haven't been to in a long time. There's a lot in there that you don't recognize. It's pretty wild in there. If I do that for a while, and I do that in community, because remember, taking care of vulnerability, one part is to find a community. If I do that in community for a while, I can receive and then I might participate. And then there's a point where, and this has happened for me and I've seen it for many in Springhouse, where we have enough sturdiness, we have enough of our own personhood that we actually can lift our heads, look around and see the community that has held us, the place that has held us, as we have taken care of that little sprout breakthrough. And when that happens, we can start to want to give back. It's a natural reciprocity thing, like a flower going to seed. We want to give back. And that's when we can start building beloved community. That there's no like particular timing that happens with that, but when it happens, people are clear when that's happening. It's like, oh my gosh, I would really like to lead a meditation, or I would really like to donate $10 a month to this thing or whatever. There's all kinds of ways to give back. But when we build beloved community, it is essential that we're respecting the individuality of each member, we're fostering unity, and we're taking care of the relationships. Just like we take care of life and ourselves through those three practices I mentioned, we also do that in community. And community is really rare. Long-term community where we're doing that is very rare. It's almost like a rare bird or something that we just need to get to know, because I do trust that community is our greatest currency. When a community orients around what I call the source of life that moves through each one of us, and we respect the ways it moves through each one of us, and we hold hands, and we're headed in a direction that takes better care of life, the most powerful thing on earth is that, to me. And if we do that for a while, Sonja, and everyone listening, if we do that for a while, my experience has been, I'm preparing myself for the fourth, I don't even know it, but the fourth principle is learning from the earth. Learning from the earth. I am not ready for those teachings because they're pretty badass teachings, memos from the earth. And I'm not ready until I've done some of my own get to know me and my human community work. We're all affected by the beauty, and most of us at some point in our lives affected by the beauty and the magic and the mystery of the earth. What I'm talking about here is a little different. It's like there are lessons that I got to be ready for and that I don't want to mull over alone. I need a community. So those lessons, and they also can really motivate me toward culture building. That is, one, we will die. We are going to die. Anyone who orients around a numinous experience alone is more focused on the unity. It's really important to also focus on the limitation. Yes, there is a part of us that will not die, the energy of life, and there is definitely, we will die. These bodies will die. So mulling that over, and there's nothing that has led me to live my life more than facing death. Nothing. I never would have lived the life I did if I had not faced death at a very young age, both through addiction, but really starkly through cancer. And then the other memo is unseen forces are at work. Anyone who orients around the numinous experience, we like that one. That's like, yes, of course unseen forces are at work. I know because I heard from it. I know. And then also there's no greater teacher anywhere that is asking us to act now. The earth is asking us to act now. Act now if you've cultivated personhood, you've taken care of that numinous experience in a community, and you're rooted and grounded in your body and you're ready, act now. If you're not, and you really have a lot of pain that you're oriented around, the action should be toward cultivating your personhood, taking care of yourself. You can't skip that. We can only give what we've filled up with. And then lastly, it's loving and serving others. So when we are motivated to act, we are living a life of service, not serving so that I've done this for many years, serving where my self-esteem feels better. I don't feel good about myself, so I'm going to serve so I feel better about myself. That's not what I'm talking about. This is more, I filled up. I'm here. I'm part of the earth. I'm immersed in this world, and I am going to give. And the 3 practices in loving, serving others is accept reality. That doesn't mean condone it and agree with it and perpetuate it. It means this is the reality I'm in. As hard as it can be, this is what I'm in. And if I can do that, then I also need to follow my call. And I know what my calling is amidst this reality, and I'm going to serve it. And then lastly, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going because this doesn't stop. And then it just circles right back around to take care of vulnerability. Because I know keeping going is, I need the source of my life to keep going. And so I'm right back to taking care of the source of my life in community, regular practice with mentorship in place. And I've done that for 32 years. And that is a miracle. I mean, that I don't know why I've done that, but I've done it with everything I do. Even my stationary bike riding. All of a sudden I'm joining Peloton, and now I have mentorship and community. I didn't even know I was doing that. I just know what it takes for a new way of life to survive.
I really love that I was going to say, I really love that you brought that up at the end about the Peloton, just because I think it really shows like how you're talking about in all ways, like that's the way, sort of new way of being, new way of practice in the orientation around this, because, it is in these huge, profound ways, calling and everything, but the sort of main point, I think, is that orientation still fundamentally, right? And so it's like easy, I think, to get lost or go off directions and then disconnect from it, no matter how, beautiful the calling or whatever, if it's not still that reorientation. Would you say that's true?
Yes. And it's very easy to, I had a 17-year-old in my office this week who was in tears, and he's had numinous experiences. And he said, I just want to live my life in a way that is aligned with what I know to be true in myself. And I keep failing. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's not serving me. It's a mess. but I know in tears, I mean, running down this person's face, and I want to feel my life is what this young person said. And this is a young person who has come to Springhouse for some years. And so, I said to him, yes, some of this is on you and your discipline, like you're having the rigorous discipline to stick with it. And there's also, this is more complex than just you and your willpower. It's not just about you and your willpower. It is about surrendering to something deeper, which takes time to know. You're only 17. And you also have wicked survival habits at play here. And you also have a culture that is not supporting you in this. At large is not supporting you in this. At Springhouse we are, but you also live in a larger culture that is offering you all the distractions that you're partaking in. So I said, once you know that, you can get a little smarter about it. You can know you already have a regular place, community, and practices and mentorship. You have that. That's a miracle. Like, let's pay attention to that for a second. But now let's offer some guidance with this design around, are you getting to know your body? Are you getting to know the sacred? Are you practicing self-awareness with your mentor? Are you doing that regularly? So I think it's that community helps us reorient around living in a new way that orients more around taking care of life than it doesn't. So I could not do it without community.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I think it's easy to also think of practice as like this hard thing we're going to make ourselves do or something, right? So that's, I think, sometimes the trick of talking about practice. And this orientation you're talking about, I mean, you use the word support a lot too, and that's including supporting oneself. And so, I think it's important to sort of, I guess, keep that at the forefront too, that it's not, I mean, there's some truth, right, to courage and to doing something hard sometimes. I even think of I think it was one of the desert mothers or fathers who said, what do? You fall down and you get up again, and you fall down and you get up again. And there's certainly that aspect of coming back to practice, for example. But when you're talking about speaking to this youth, I think that very much like also learning that is support, and support for yourself is really important.
And knowing in a culture where we want things for nothing, we often want something for nothing. I mean, we can buy things without having any money in our hand. we can, there's a lot we want for nothing. And practice is hard. To keep coming back, it's hard, especially in this culture. I mean, I wonder if it would be less hard if we lived in a culture where that were the norm. It would still be hard, but I also wonder what our potential would be. I wonder these things a lot as a culture builder. Like, what is our potential beyond survival? And I'm getting to find out a little bit as I'm at Springhouse. Just the experiment of it all is really cool to be a part of. But yeah, I think some days it is hard and it does feel like a task. And I've had enough experience to know that it's worth it. But many of us haven't. So then what motivates you? What would even motivate you, numinous experience or not? Because a numinous experience, I mean, you may have had 20 years ago. And that's not going to be the thing that motivates me when I'm 50 to do it. I mean, I can remember it as a North Star vision, but it's got to be something else. And that for me is also where the surrender comes in, where I can ask for help from something greater than myself because I know it. But what if I don't? Then that's where community can come in, where it's like, God, I just know right now, if I know my life is not working, it's just not working. I'm either harming myself or other people, or I'm going through the motions. And I'm not taking the risks I need to live my life fully. Both are painful. And there comes a time for some of us where we're like, I think I might choose a new way rather than manage the symptoms of not living fully.